Hi everyone, this is the very first video of the Soil Microbial Health modules, introducing you to the soil microbial world. This information is provided by OnFarm. The OnFarm program is an applied research initiative which supports soil health and water quality research on farms across Ontario. This program is funded by the Canadian Agricultural Partnership, a federal, provincial, and territorial initiative. So just so we're all on the same page, soil microbiology is studying the microscopic organisms that are living in our soils. So why do we even really care about soil microbiology in the first place? Well, the obvious answer here is because your soils are teeming with life. In just a spoonful of soil, you can find millions of microorganisms like bacteria and fungi. But there's more reasons this topic is so important in the world of agriculture. There are complex networks going on below the surface. These microbes are all working together to perform many soil processes. These soil processes we now know are really important to soil health as well. Another important reason is that we're seeing a lot of changes happening to the microbial communities when they're exposed to years of intensive agriculture. These changes are being mediated by how we manage the soils through crops, fertilizers, and tillage. And lastly, because these microorganisms are important to soil health and they can change alongside management practices, there's an opportunity here to use them as an indicator to measure and track soil health. Keep in mind, there's still so much we need to learn here. As you can probably imagine, studying these microscopic organisms isn't the easiest. But hopefully over the next videos and modules, the importance of this topic will become clear to you as well. So another benefit of studying these organisms is that we are slowly figuring out what they can do for us, with the goal that we can eventually determine what we can do as soil managers to best benefit these communities. Let's first go through some definitions, starting with a microorganism or a microbe. These are usually bacteria or fungi, and there are many different types of microorganisms, each having different characteristics and different functions that they carry out in the soil. What's important to know is that these organisms do not work in isolation. They form a very complex network with one another to carry out soil processes, some of which we'll get into a bit later. The microbial community is a term you'll hear me say a lot. You probably already heard me say it. It's used when talking about each of the microbes in a soil environment working together. There are all these different types of microbes, all playing a different role. Because this is such an interconnected environment, we always need to look at the community as a whole to see their full effect. These functions or soil processes that are being carried out by the microbial community can be classified as ecosystem services. This includes all the great things that soil microbes are providing to our soils, and I'll be focusing on a few of these in the presentations to come. The last thing I'd like to bring up is something called microbial biodiversity or diversity. This is a really important concept that refers to the relative abundance and the variety of the microbes that are present. A diverse microbial community is one that has a lot of different types of microbes in the soil. So as I mentioned, when talking about soil microorganisms, we tend to look at the bigger picture. There are a few metrics we can use to measure what the microbial community is doing. We can first look at the abundance of the microbes, telling us how many are present in total. This is also called the biomass. We can look at the activity of the microbes, telling us how many are actually out doing something. This one's important because a lot of the microbes in the soil are actually dormant and only become active in the right conditions. And lastly, we can look at microbial biodiversity. We'll talk about why that's important coming up. So these measures are far from perfect, but it allows you to track changes in the microbial community, and it's used a lot in research. So coming up, we'll get into some of those ecosystem services carried out by microbes that are driving soil health.